वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। God arranges things in a way that is best for you. In my Yogi's Destiny and Wheel of Time, I refer to the incident during my service career in Government of India. Whenever I got a transfer, I got very, very long transfers. The reason was I was a bachelor. And in India, a bachelor can be thrown without notice on transfer to any long distance place because married people keep on complaining about their problems. So that proved very fortunate. I met the greatest yogis and greatest saints in oddest places, in oddest moments of my life. Now, on one such occasion, when I was telling my late Guruji about this problem of a transfer, he told me one thing which I have written in the book, which I would like to share with you. When anything happens without your making an attempt for it, take it as an order from God for you to follow. It's a divine instruction. I told earlier, and I'll repeat today, I had been having invitations to go outside India and also visit USA at least since 1973, 74, 75. It was only after the Dasha of my 12th Lord started, that is Mercury, in my 12th house, exalted, and Dr. David Sholay came to Delhi, sought me out, came to my house, met me, and persuaded me that I agreed to move out. Otherwise, I have been always not allergic, not very enthusiastic about moving out of India. Why did David Sholay succeed? And why is he here today? Neither I know nor he knows. But it is accidental. Not that it was pre-planned, but just Rakesh Sharma told me he was coming and he would ask him to introduce me. I thought it would be better because then I would have an occasion to refer to something which is going to be the core theme of my subject, karma and astrology, which I am going to take up from tonight. But I will take up an exciting case of rebirth, reincarnation tonight. Even if it means slight delay, you must please excuse me because I would like to give you some ideas. In 94, or was it 95? 94 is true, I think. Myself, Dr. David Sholay, and my friend Dr. Dinesh Sharma, we went to Rishikesh and we went to a Lama who did readings. There were some predictions. Later that Lama sent a message to me. He said 1400 years ago, myself, he and David Sholay, we were doing astrology in some cave. So no wonder in USA David Sholay has introduced me to the audience at least 4 times. So that is a 1400-year-old debt which I am deferring to towards him and he towards me. One. Now I have taken up a subject which has been, through a mistake of mine, described as astrology and karma. The mistake is purely mine, but the mistake is a good mistake. I once originally wanted to plan a book on astrology, Punarjanma, reincarnation, karma, and psychology, all three combined. Then I thought it would become a very voluminous book of 800 pages if I had to give too many case histories. I decided to split the book into three parts or make them three independent books. So astrology and karma, astrology and reincarnation, 80% of that is ready. Astrology, psychology, only 30-40% of the manuscript is ready, but I will do it later, combining the best of the researches of psychologists of the world, of USA and other places, and the yogic method of interpreting psychology. So that would take time. Now I have taken up astrology and karma. Here today I will have to remember my Jyotish Guru Yogi Bhaskar Anand. He had written 4 brilliant chapters on astrology and philosophy, astrology, karma, astrology, reincarnation, and towards the, after I moved to another station on a transfer, he lost interest in astrology totally, moved very high up in his yogic sadhana. Years later, when I tried to trace out that manuscript, it was untraceable, it was lost. No one in the world could have explained these things better than he. It was 40 years he had done his sadhana in the Himalayas and was a very great astrologer. He inspired you from within. He was such a truthful man. When you meet a truthful man, his blessings are enough and knowledge begins to spring from within. He was that type of a guru. In doing readings of my own horoscope once, he would never give predictions, but he told me, someday you will produce books on the higher subjects linked to astrology. One of them will be astrology and karma and astrology and reincarnation, this type of work. Astrology and karma, more or less, I have followed the line he discussed in his book. Astrology and reincarnation, I never thought I would ever be able to do this. But the great God has been so kind to me. I have in my collection actual undisputed cases of the horoscopes of both births of an individual. Undisputed when I say they are world famous cases. I am presenting one of them before you today. I will start with that because astrology and karma, unless you understand and link it to reincarnation, astrology will lose all its meaning and purpose. You cannot explain many things happening to you in life by resorting to some sort of a tricky, unsatisfactory explanation taken from heredity and environment. Totally incomplete. You cannot explain through heredity and environment. For instance, I am a very aggressive idealist. If I have 100 people admiring me, I will always have 10 people wanting to kill me. That aggression will never go because that is what I inherited from my father. I try my best to control myself, but like my father, I become suddenly aggressive in my idealism. And like my mother, I always believe in combining astrology with worship and stotra part. You should not do astrology unless you have a firm belief in God. That is what I inherited. But the third thing which neither my father nor my mother gave me was a streak of unorthodoxy When I was teaching you Kurma Chakra, I adopted a totally different method, departing from the book, modernized the whole thing. I will not go wrong, but I will not give you as it is given in the textbook. I will come out with something totally new. When I say PACDARES, it is not what is given in any book, but what I am teaching you is classical astrology, but innovating a style, giving you a memory tablet to remember. Now I just ask one simple question and start with my case study. Have you not honestly felt in your life that suddenly you were seized by an impulse and you did something which you may not have done, which you could not have done, which you should not have done? That's all. I'll pose a question and stop there. I will not ask you to answer this question. Have you not felt it? Right? How does that happen? Unless you understand that, you cannot understand what actually karma is. The karma reflected in your horoscope is the allotment of that portion of the total karmas of past life. I will be taking up more tomorrow, which is known as prarabdha. That is why the moment of your birth has never been in your hand, not of your choice. I know some of you will say, well, the doctor can manipulate. I have a world's first case to show, astrogenetical case to show. Even by doctors, even by trying to manipulate, cannot manipulate your destiny. The first case given in my book here. Full-fledged case. But I am starting this with a case of, it's from the unpublished part of my manuscript on astrology and reincarnation. This case I had presented last year at Ohio, briefly. Today I will present it a little more deeply and take you into different divisional horoscopes. Because throughout in taking up astrology and karma, I will be teaching you some rare predictive techniques also. And I will teach you the methods of peeping into the psychology of someone's horoscope. How many of you have been ever interested in studying reincarnations? I do not know. We in India do not study reincarnations because we believe in it. In USA you study them, some of you, and with the thoroughness and the diligence with which these studies are taken up in USA, you do once in a while succeed in producing brilliant studies. One advantage, of course, in USA is, if a project like this is taken up, it is funded easily by someone. In India, there is no such thing as funding. So you have to do all alone yourself. So when my Jyotish Guru said, someday you will be able to succeed, I didn't know how. Then last year I had gone to Rajasthan and I had a tremendous lot of coverage in the press and the TV. Then one man came running to me. He said, this is the horoscope of the previous birth of Shanti Devi. Now who was Shanti Devi? You take up any book on reincarnation. The most celebrated case of this century is the case of Shanti Devi. Then I had another advantage. Has any one of you got the Varshaphala of Dr. Charak here? Copy? No, okay. Now you see the cover page of Varshaphala of Dr. T.S. Charak. Read inside who designed the cover. You will see the name Gopal Agarwal. Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia here in USA, who has been doing his researches in reincarnation, has the largest case on Gopal Agarwal. And this Gopal Agarwal is not merely a friend and patient of Dr. Charak, but he is also a good painter. So he prepared the design of that book. If you read that name Gopal Agarwal, you should know at the moment in the world, the most celebrated case is that of Gopal Agarwal, who remembered his past life. So I have the horoscope of Gopal Agarwal of this life and also past life. Now, reincarnation has been approached generally in the studies done by people in the West in two ways. Or let us say three ways. One is the popular way, and you have written collected stories and written about them. So those books have sold quite a lot. The second is the rigid clinical scientific method adopted by persons like Ian Stevenson. You cannot doubt those cases. You read those reincarnation type of books produced by University of Virginia. You cannot doubt the authenticity of the material. It is not a popular stuff, it is dry, drab, unromantic, clinical, but 100% convincing. And the third one is the rare mystical approach to the problem of reincarnation by a great man, a very great man of USA called Edgar Cayce. He would go into trances and trace the cause of your ailment to some karma of past life. Edgar Cayce was an Orthodox Roman Catholic Christian, but he used words which only a Hindu would use: karmic, akashic records, past birth, reincarnation. He traced your ailment to some deed of past life, went into a trance, cured it, and in USA, in Edgar Cayce Institute, you have as many as 90,000 recorded cases. So you have approached reincarnation in three ways. The pop method, well, the popular method appeals immediately. You have, for example, a case of someone in USA, very big man, could be in New York area, I forget, I read about it some time ago. He went to a swimming pool, he was taking his bath. When he came out of the swimming pool, someone took a camera and wanted to take his photo. This man suddenly withdrew. He said, please, please, please don't do that. They said, this man, so confident, so strong, so why is he afraid of a snapshot, camera? He said, no. In my last birth, when I came out of the swimming pool, someone came with a camera, was trying to take my photo, and I shot dead. Now you say, had this man gone crazy? A successful American executive, he begins to talk like this, the first reaction of Americans will be to send him either to a psychiatrist or a lunatic asylum. But someone got interested in that incident, said, well, what are the details? He said, in my past birth I was in Holland when this happened. They went flying to Holland, found out the story was correct. But that story that could not be investigated into in the clinical psychological style of Dr. Ian Stevenson. So that is a popular one, well, appeals to more people because they are not interested in your method of investigation. They say, well, here it is, a true story. That is the end of the investigation for you. But if you are a doubter, if you are doubting, you have to read the dry, drab, clinical approach of Dr. Ian Stevenson. That will convince you. The best of the world, doctors in the world cannot reject. Then if you are a man with a fine spiritual background, you begin to see why Edgar Cayce is such a great personality. He died in 1945, if I remember. But I don't know. Your Edgar Cayce has impressed me most. And in one of my books I have written, if not the greatest, he was easily one of the greatest Americans of the century. That's my reaction to him. But the fourth approach, approaching reincarnation astrologically, has not been done at all. And as prophesied by my Jyotish Guru, I have succeeded in collecting the most authentic data. One of them I am presenting, and I am starting this, my lecture on astrology and karma, with that case. With a request, after hearing my case, if you come across any such American case, please send me the details in India. Then I will go back to the use of Dresh Konas given in Varamihir's Brihad Jatak and other places on the method of tracing the life before life and the life after life in each individual cases. How the Dresh Kona is to be made use of is a theory. For me it is no more a theory now. It was a theory 3 years ago. In all other books, translations you will read, you will find a parrot-like repetition of this principle. That really doesn't help. Many of the people, particularly in the Mahesh Yogi disciples, when they come for reading to me, they ask me a question. Can you tell me anything about my past life? I said no. They say, why not? I said, suppose I told you you are a great scoundrel, will you believe that? Would you believe that? Or you are a great saint. Why do you want me to say something which I cannot establish? Then they say, will I get salvation? I said, for that also, there are certain other things to be seen. So don't jump into these things. Don't go into areas which are unverifiable. Then you become a very unscientific astrologer. You will be spreading dogmas and superstitions. Don't do that. If I say I do not know, I say I do not know. That is the end of the story. But here I am. If you say, can you establish links between both birth through astrology? 4 years ago I would have said no. In 94 I could say yes. In 95 I can say I have better developed techniques. And that's what I am presenting to you. Notes have been given to you, or they will be given in installments. Yes, you can distribute now. Because Beth said you are in a very romantic mood this time. I said what? Because I had told her don't distribute the notes till I tell you. I said because if you read the notes beforehand, the romance of my telling you about reincarnation will be lost. This horoscope I am presenting to you is in the records of at least 4 other Indians who are investigating into the phenomenon of reincarnation. Authentic horoscope, 100% authentic horoscope. Of an orthodox, you see first only the first horoscope please. Of an orthodox Indian lady of Mathura a religious place of India near Vrindavan, born in 1902, when female literacy in India was 0.5%. Englishmen never wanted to spread literacy. So, illiterate woman getting married at the age of 11, 12, 13 was a common thing. And woman's duty was only either to work in the kitchen or deliver babies. Right? She belonged to that era. Now look at the Dasha scheme. Moon is 1631. So you know she is born in the Dasha of Venus. Dasha of Venus followed by the Dasha of the Sun. Sun is the seventh lord of marriage. And we are talking of the years of child marriages those days. Englishmen passed an act known as Sharda Act preventing child marriages in 1931. Before 1931, child marriage was not even an offense in India. Today on the statute book it is an offense, but child marriages take place even now. I will now ask you to concentrate only on one area in this horoscope, the fifth house. When I told you the woman was either only delivering babies or cooking food. Now here, please concentrate on the fifth house. The fifth lord is Mercury. In the 12th house, in the company of Mars. And the fifth house is getting aspected by Saturn. The moon's dasha would be the dasha of the sun, you know, would be followed by that of the moon. Moon, the sixth lord, in the third house under total grip of Rahu, Ketu degree wise. See the degrees, 1631, Ketu 1744. Then again you please see the aspect, the fourth aspect of Mars on this moon. It's a case of double affliction to the moon. And the dasha of the moon will follow the dasha of the sun. It is India of 1902. The mortality rate of children was more than 40% then, or perhaps 60%. The average Indian longevity was 27 years. When I was studying in the school, we used to read, average Indian longevity was 27 years. Today the span of life is 60. After independence we have improved so much. During Englishman times, average Indian lived for only 27 years. So, Desh, Kal, Patra. When you are interpreting astrology, you have to remember the time, the country, the clime, the community, the person for whom you are doing the reading. Desh, Kal, Patra. Uha, Poha, Patu is the word used by Parashara. You should be able to weigh the pros and cons. So here you are. An orthodox, illiterate or semi-literate woman who would normally do all the fastings, all the pujas, will be an excellent mother, excellent housewife, excellent sister, excellent daughter. All those virtues will be there. But nothing of the modern life. And in a country in which mortality rate was so high and medical care almost zero. So therefore you see the dasha scheme. Venus dasha and the sun's dasha goes up to 1922, 7th Lord's dasha. We don't have her date of marriage. Then came the dasha of the moon. Now please concentrate on the dasha of moon and Rahu. This is the PC Jyotish program, American program, so 9 means the 9th month here. In India we generally put the date first, then the month. 9th is September 7th. So September 7th, 1924, Mercury, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, like that I go on. I am only asking you to concentrate on the period Moon Rahu. Examine the 5th house and the 5th lord and the significator for children Jupiter in this horoscope. Please remember the principle always. I will repeat it 100 times at least till you get sick of me. But that principle of Parashara, if you miss, you will have missed the real fine technique of prediction. When you are examining about children, examine the 5th house from the Lagna and also the 5th house from Jupiter. When you are talking about mother, examine the 4th house from Lagna and the 4th house from the moon. When you are talking about father, examine the 9th house from the Lagna and the 9th house from the sun. When you are talking about uncles, examine the 6th house from the Lagna and the 6th house from Mercury. When you are talking about longevity or span of life, examine the 8th house from the Lagna and the 8th house from Saturn. If you miss these basic principles of interpretation, you will commit serious mistake. Now, the horoscope is before you, I can't go back to that, but I am reading out the commentary. Examine the 5th house and the 5th lord and the significator for children Jupiter in this horoscope. The 5th lord Mercury is in the 12th house with the sun and Mars, 2 malefics and Jupiter. I will slightly digress. I was telling someone, and Edith was not agreeing with me, but she should agree. I was telling I have become a very bad teacher. Dr. Charak and Chirmule organized the subject so when I begin to talk, I suddenly begin to digress. The reason why I digress is I have done so much work in my research that suddenly some new thought comes flashing into my mind. I can't help it. Even when I try to control, but it's very difficult. The child giver is Jupiter, right? When you are examining the horoscope of an Indian woman of 1902, you are going to examine the 5th house and the 5th lord in the narrowest possible area, childbirth. When you are examining the horoscope of a modern Indian young woman, you take the expansive meaning of the 5th house and the 5th lord now. Because the modern Indian educated woman is like any American woman, well educated, very modern. So, in the changed context, how do you interpret? I am taking the horoscope of an Indian woman of 1902 belonging to a country when female literacy was 0.5%. Male literacy was 10%. Mortality rate was 40 to 60%. Average Indian longevity was 27 years. Against that background, now judge the horoscope. The fifth Lord Mercury is in the 12th house with the Sun and Mars with two malefics and Jupiter. The fifth Lord Mercury in the 12th house in the case of an orthodox Indian woman of those ages would mean obstruction to the delivery system of a child. Difficulties in childbearing. In the modern context, it will mean the Indian girl coming to USA and studying. 12th is the foreign country, 5th house is education. That is where the real researchers come in. I was telling you CRF. In my ups and downs, I have given you that formula. If you get tied down to the classical formula, you will destroy astrology. If you don't understand classical astrology, you will destroy astrology. If you don't make it flexible and innovate, you will not be able to be of any use to a modern man consulting you. Fifth Lord in the 12th will mean education in a foreign country. Fifth Lord in the 12th afflicted means obstruction to the delivery of children. So first you see, fifth Lord Mercury is in the 12th house with the Sun and Mars, two malefics, and Jupiter. The fifth house receives the aspect of Jupiter, of Saturn, it should be Saturn. The child giver Jupiter is combust. Anyway, you please correct it. Fifth house receives the aspect of Saturn. For the delivery of children, such horoscopes would have become much more difficult in 1925, when we did not have such good medical facilities for maternity care as we have now. She was born in 1902, and her dasha of Venus was over on April 4, 1917, after which came the dasha of the Sun, her seventh lord. Those were the days of child marriages in India. It can be safely presumed that she was married in the period of the Sun, if not earlier. We have no details about her date of her marriage. After the Sun came the period of the Moon, her sixth lord of sickness with Ketu and aspected by Mars. Keeping these 6 points, let us see the Navansha. Now examine the Navansha again for the delivery of children. The fifth lord is again Mercury and the aspect of Jupiter, but a benefic promised children to her. Anyway, I have to correct my English here. Jupiter is aspecting this. So there is no denial of children. Jupiter is aspecting the fifth house. But there is Ketu in the fifth house, again aspected by Saturn from the eighth house. Yes, Jupiter is debilitated both in Rashi and Navansha. So that is again a weakness. That is again a weakness here. Now we go. Saturn aspects the fifth house and also qualifies to give children. Now please remember, 100 out of 100 times you can follow the research I have given to you in my book Planets and Children. Mark out in every horoscope who are the qualified child givers. You should not accept the horoscope of any man or woman who have children without testing that, whether their children were born in those specified period or not. A qualified child giver, that is the word I used. It is an unerring principle which I learned from my mother. When she taught me, she said, well, an Indian woman, for that matter a woman generally, would be interested more in marriage, relationships, children. My mother, being an Orthodox Hindu Brahmin woman, was very keenly interested. The moment she would look into the horoscope, she would say where you would be married, in which direction you would go, what your husband would be doing. All those details, just in a flash it would come out to her. She would not accept a horoscope unless she saw that the childbirth had taken place in the periods of the qualified child giver sub-periods. Now Saturn is a qualified child giver because in the birth horoscope he is aspecting the 5th house. Saturn aspects the 5th house and also qualifies to give children. Those years of 19, 20, 30, 40, etc. were not the decades of family planning. Right? The only information we have is that she became pregnant in the period of Moon Rahu, after which she had become the mother of a son or more children. We can look at the transit of planets of October 4, 1925, which is a crucial date in this case study. Now please remember, this is an unrevised, unpublished manuscript of a book of mine. I have not even edited. October 4, 1925. This is the significant thing I am drawing your attention to is, this is the birth moon and this is the transit moon. Today, if you remember in one of your classes, when Nandan was talking about the transit, I said no, the transit of moon on the natal moon given in Phaladipika is 100% wrong. Don't accept those books blindly. Transit of moon on your natal moon can be a very fatal day of your life. Indira Gandhi died when moon was transiting in Capricorn, right on her moon. She was shot dead on that day. Rajiv Gandhi was shot dead when the transiting moon was right on his natal moon. When other conditions are there, the transit of Saturn, the transit of Jupiter, transit of Mars, transit of other planets, finally you come to the day of fatality on the basis of the moon. And when you come to that day of fatality on the basis of the moon, there are certain nakshatras to be seen. One of them, of course, is the birth nakshatra itself, birth anujanma, etc. So 1, 10, 19. These are the nakshatras to be seen. Now here, the transit moon is on this day, October 4th, 1925, right on her moon. See now how these planets affect the birth horoscope and then the Saptansha. So what I do is, I take the transit position and superimpose it on your birth lagna. Now we have seen that the birth lagna is Aquarius, Kumbha, right? On October 4th, 1924. See the 8th house. Mars, Sun. And the moon on the birth moon. Dr. Charak has talked in his medical astrology, and you should remember that principle. If you forget that principle, please revise it after this case study. The importance of transits of planets into 22nd Dresh Kona. The importance of transits of planets in the 64th Navansha. Don't miss that. You cannot do any counseling for anyone when you are seeing such transits are coming. You are talking about big things and some disaster is going to take place. You have to know your fundamentals very soundly. So this is the transit. Now I will go to the Saptantra of this woman of 1902. Please remember the transits. One disadvantage of a overhead projector is I cannot bring 4 or 5 charts together. But you have got the papers with you already. See the birth horoscope every time. Every time go back to the birth horoscope. Every divisional horoscope has to be interrelated to the birth horoscope. Now, this is the Saptansha Lagna. Saptansha is the 1/7 division. What was the Dasha and Antardasha? I drew your attention to Moon, Rahu. Go back to that. Moon, Rahu. Now examine the position of the moon in this horoscope, in the 12th house. With the 5th lord, Jupiter, the natural child giver is also a qualified child giver of Saptansha. Am I clear? Am I clear? The natural child giver Jupiter is also a qualified child giver of the Saptansha as the 5th lord. Unfortunately, as in the birth horoscope, so also here, the 5th lord goes into the 12th house, a classical combination for difficulty in delivery of a child. Moon is with the 5th lord in the 12th house. 12th house represents hospitals. And of course the confinement in the case of a woman who is pregnant. The sub-period is that of Rahu in the 7th house of the Saptansha, aspected by Mars. There comes in the danger. This book by Shivraj Sharma on Rahu, which you may have seen outside, let me tell you, as far as book writing, it comes to book writing, it is perhaps the best planned book of this century on the interpretation of Dasha. Very hard working man, batchmate of Dr. Charak. You can see the 9-fold approach of Parashara to the interpretation of a Dasha, 5-fold approach to the interpretation of Antardasha. There he has dealt with Rahu. Now here come to this Rahu. See this. Rahu develops fatality in the 7th house of the Saptansha and the aspect of Mars. The Mahadasha of Moon. From the Moon, Rahu is again in the 8th house. Now see the day. Articles you see in India here and there, that aspects are not to be taken in divisional horoscopes. If you do not take aspects in divisional horoscopes, an entire book known as Jataka Bharanam you will have to throw into the sea. Entire book Jataka Bharanam is depending upon interpretation, subtlest interpretation of aspects in divisional horoscopes. So these writers in one article will write, don't take aspects in divisional horoscopes. And in the other article, will quote Jataka Bharanam without knowing that they are contradicting. You cannot accept Jataka Bharanam and also say aspects are not to be taken in divisional horoscopes. I have given some of my greatest predictions on this basis. If you see ups and downs in career, my prediction about Justice Utwalia getting a promotion after the death of a Supreme Court judge was based on aspects. Now come back to this. In the period of the moon, which is with the fifth lord of the Saptansha, Jupiter has childbearing planets, must be expected to be a certainty. The fifth house receives the aspect of Saturn. In the birth horoscope, so again here, is also the sixth and the seventh lord. The moon, earlier the sun in the Saptansha and Lagna qualify as child givers in this horoscope. So it is the moon dasha which is going on. Ketu, Rahu are associated with the Saptansha Lagna, and Jupiter, the fifth lord, is the rightful giver of children. In this case, as the fifth lord also. Yes. The fifth house of the Saptansha has a transit Jupiter aspected by Saturn and Mars. It was the moon major period and the sub-period of Rahu, which as we have already seen is being aspected by Mars, not a safe period for the delivery of a child. The inevitable happened. She had an extremely difficult pregnancy. She suffered and groaned and died on October 4, 1925. October 4, 1925. I repeat, October 4, 1925. And I have given you the planetary position of that day. Remember that. In the major period of the moon and the sub-period of Rahu, in the major period of the moon and the sub-period of Rahu, I am repeating, the major period of the moon and the sub-period of Rahu. Remember that. It is said that a violent and extremely painful death is remembered in the next birth also. We have many cases of first-hand verification of reincarnation all over the world. The most famous is Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia in the USA. Three facts are worth remembering here. The Lagna was Aquarius. She died in the period of the moon Mahadasha. Now I'll just stop here a little, then tell you first, digress. In Delhi, Chandni Chowk is a famous area, a very famous market. There in a house, a girl was born, a young girl, and she started saying right from her childhood, "This is not my place. I was in Mathura. I lived in Mathura. Take me there. Take me there." Now in a big city and in a very orthodox area like Chandni Chowk, when an event like this begins to take place, in Indian society we are very intimate and we are community living. Everyone begins to talk about it. Some people noticed it. Then an investigation was done. The child was taken to Mathura and she identified each and every relation of her past life. It's a tremendous story and it is the most deeply, widely investigated case of reincarnation of this century. And why it became so deeply investigated story of reincarnation is Mahatma Gandhi took interest in this case. And Mahatma Gandhi appointed a famous Delhi leader, Deshbandhu Gupta. And a committee was formed with one believer and four agnostics. Very intelligent move. Four agnostics who would not believe in reincarnation. Now go and investigate. They went. I have the statement here recorded also with me all the cases are not merely authentic and authenticated, I have also taken a first-hand report from people who participated in that investigation. I will not go into those factual details, but I will come to the interesting part. Now come to the horoscope of Shanti Devi. This girl became famous as Shanti Devi. That woman who died in Mathura was Shanti Devi in this life, in Chandni Chowk. I am very fortunate because she used to come to me for astrological consultations. Shanti Devi. I never thought I would be fortunate to get the horoscope of her previous life someday. My Jyotish Guru's prophecy came correct in 84 when I got almost 6 years after her death the horoscope of her previous life. Now this is Shanti Devi of this life who were herself an astrologer, and she came to me many times. So I am now discussing her horoscope. You have the previous life's horoscope with you already. Now see this. On December 11, 1926, a girl was born in Delhi in the family of an old resident of Delhi who lived in Chandni Chowk. Her horoscope is this. December 11, 1926, 1:47:53 p.m. New Delhi. Balance of Rahu 8 years, 11 months, 1 day. Balance of Rahu 8 years, 1 month, etc., etc. Now go back to the one simple fact I drew your attention to. She died in her previous birth in moon Rahu. Right? In this birth she is born in Rahu Dasha. When we request you in USA that when you are coming out with your computer programs, for God's sake, give at the top the balance of the Dasha. Try to understand, there is a deeper reason for it. You are giving the whole thing, whole Dasha. In the classical Indian method, you have to say, balance of Rahu, 8 years, 11 months, 1 day. The starting Dasha in which you are born will always have a balance, and the Dasha in which you die will always be fragmented. Other Dashas will be complete. The balance of the Dasha has to be given. If you don't give it, your astrological investigation starts with an area of darkness in which you will be groping for the rest of your life in making predictions on that horoscope. In 1993, at San Rafael, Dr. Fale had made arrangements for me for stay with an extraordinarily fine American couple. He had talked to me when I was in India, where would you like to stay, with Americans or Indians? I said with gentlemen. That's all. So he knew. So I stayed with them. In 94 June when I was there, she asked me to do the reading of a friend of hers. I was doing that. I looked into the horoscope. I said, when you were born, your father's house was bombed. Or it was burnt. What happened? She ran out and told Janet, this man Rav is a psychic. How can he know this? She said, no, he is not a psychic. He is a very normal human being, and he sees the Dasha scientifically. The balance of the Dasha is absolutely important. The story of your life starts with this. In your American programs, when you are giving the full flag, this thing, it is not useful to me. I have to every time sit down and calculate. You cannot do that. Please try to understand. It's my request to you. Since I have come for the 5th time now, and I have become intimate friends of yours, and I really want to share some of the secrets with you. You cannot give me a program in which I cannot immediately get what I want. I have to sit down and calculate. Don't do that. Born in Rahu Dasha. Now I'll ask you one question. I'll not tell you any facts of the case. Now suppose a modern Indian woman were to come to you in Delhi, it would be very easy for you to give predictions to her, as you give it to an American lady in USA who comes and says, tell me about relationship. They don't ask questions about marriage. Right? Mr. Rao, I have been very unfortunate in my relationships. 99% in American women have told me. Less than 0.5% women have told me I have not been very lucky in marriage. Because relationship is common. So you are analyzing, suppose an American horoscope of an American woman from the point of view of relationship or marriage. Now from that angle analyze this horoscope. You have seen Shanti Devi's birth horoscope. We will go back to the birth horoscope. Now first you see in the birth horoscope, the 7th Lord is Mercury. Under double affliction, Saturn and Sun. And triple affliction, Mars also aspecting. But I will give you a little trouble. I would like to have some water or tea, something. You will get me? Okay, thank you. Now please examine it first on the birth horoscope. The 7th house, 7th Lord is Mercury with Sun, Saturn, aspected by Mars. In my astrology, destiny and wheel of time, among the many examples I have given, one example is of that of the romantic stories. A fat, huge Brahmin girl, ugly looking, who failed in all examinations. They had no money to pay dowry. When they showed me the horoscope, I said she is going to marry into a very rich family where there will be a lot of landed property. So people thought I had gone mad. I have given you my method of analysis there. And I have shown you. Finally, what happened? There was an eccentric Brahmin bachelor, 40 years old, who would not marry. Father went on insisting. Then he laid down a list of qualifications for his wife. She should be fat, she should not be good looking, she should not have passed any examination, she should belong to such a poor family which cannot pay dowry. So they went on searching for such a boy all over, came to Patel Nagar and found a bride answering all the listed disqualifications, 100%. And she got married, went into that family. The brother of that girl came to me. She said, we could have never believed that she would marry into such a rich family. I said, our 4th Lord, aspected by exalted Jupiter, Vargottama in the 12th house. She is born with that, and she has more property than all her brothers, prosperous brothers put together. There I gave you the technique. Please apply that to all your relationship problems repeatedly. Don't say I have not shared the technique with you. in case studies I have shared. I have given it to you. So I will not take much of your time. You read that as an exercise. Examine the 7th house and the 7th lord from 3 points, Lagna, Moon and Venus. Now come here. Quick. From the Lagna, I have analyzed the 7th lord. From Venus, 7th house is Rahu, 7th lord is Mercury again. See the triple affliction. From the moon, 7th lord is Sun, again see the affliction. You are analyzing it from 3 points. Now seek its confirmation in the Navansha. But if I am committing any mistake in the sequence of pages, you will please correct me. Right? And page 7, okay? Now this is the Navansha. Treat Navansha as a totally independent horoscope for this purpose and again examine the 7th house and the 7th lord. The 7th house has Mars. The 7th lord is Moon with Sun and Rahu, again aspected by Mars. From the moon, the position doesn't improve. From Venus, you see the aspect of Mars on the 7th house, otherwise it is not so bad. The 7th house has Mars, I have given the analysis. I will skip through it. The paper has been given to you, you can read it. Now I will come to a personal story. She used to come to me. Hours together we sat and discussed. I knew she was the world's most famous case of reincarnation. Most famous case. You cannot have any book on reincarnation without the mention of Shanti Devi. And the horoscope I am giving you is 100% authentic. If you don't believe it, 200% authentic. If you do not believe it still, 300% authentic. Okay? Now, I asked her, very strange, an Indian woman living in Delhi, in Chandni Chowk, coming from an orthodox family, remaining unmarried. I said, what is wrong? Very well educated. She had absolute dread of marriage, no sex life. Pure celibate life. No sex life. Not out of any spiritual consideration. So you have now come to the Saptansha. Now what do you see in the Saptansha? The 5th house. Please see the 5th lord. The 5th house has Mercury with the double affliction of Mars and Saturn. From Jupiter, the 5th house has the moon aspected by the sun, but Venus, the 5th lord, from debilitated Jupiter in Saptansha goes into the 12th house and gets the aspects of Mars, Mercury and Saturn. Can you look into a horoscope and tell a woman that she should take intelligent decision when it comes to marrying because she is likely to get an important husband? There are many classical combinations given in astrology. Similarly, can you look into a horoscope and tell a person, well, the sterile Rashi has become so active, it is better for you not to conceive the sterility of a Rashi? Can you look into a horoscope and make use of Bij, Svut and Kshetra, Svut and tell a person you cannot have children? I had an occasion to teach Bij, Svut and Kshetra, Svut. I don't know where. Now I am forgetting. In USA I keep on moving from place to place. I don't remember what I taught where, most likely at San Diego in 1993, right? And I admired them and their stamina. In 2 days I taught them for 26 hours. 26 hours, 2 days. Dr. David Trolley said, well, Julia in any case wants, she'll go sentimental if you don't go. We had to cut short our program from his house, go there, sitting in Julia's house 2 days, small informal this thing, in a drawing room with board and everything. 26 hours of teaching in 2 days. It was fantastic. Then I went on saying, test these things. These are unfailing. Anyway, I will not go into this Bij, Svut and Kshetra, Svut because my subject is Purva Janma Sanskara. Now I am defining. What is the meaning of Sanskara? I don't know how to put it in English, but Purva Janma Sanskara, I will put it as psychological, physical, emotional, physical tendencies of the past life. How should I put it down, David? In one word, I don't find any English equivalent. Impressions are the word people are using. Okay. Please remember, I started by telling you, explaining everything on the basis of psychology, heredity and environment is a totally unsatisfactory explanation. All your biologists and Harvard intellectuals are depending on it. No. That's a totally unconvincing one. You have to go deep into astrology to see the subconscious motivations that come. How do the subconscious motivations come? I will explain when you understand the difference between karma, akarma, vikarma, kriyaman karma, prarabdha karma. I will take it up from tomorrow and relate it to astrology. In other words, I am not teaching you karma alone, I am teaching you the deeper layers of psychology, springing from your subconscious mind, which has come to you as a result of an inheritance of which you are not aware, which only astrology can reveal. Sanskara word. I was complaining against Nandan, right? Writing small letters like ant-like. I will not do that. They are elephant-like. Samskara. Please remember this word. I'll keep on repeating. I'll keep on repeating this word. You may, instead of M, you may say N also. Sanskara or samskara. I am a South Indian brought up in northern India. In South India they pronounce it as samskara, in northern India as sanskara. So I can use both M and N and I will be qualified to use that. But South Indian will put M there, North Indian will put N there. I can put both. South Indian brought up in northern India. Okay? Samskara. Purva Janma Sanskara. Remember this word, Purva Janma Sanskara, represented by the fifth house and the fifth lord. The sanskara of this life, represented by the ninth house and the ninth lord. Now please see the fifth house. See the fifth house from Jupiter, beautiful moon. But from Jupiter, Venus goes into the 12th house and is afflicted by Mars, Saturn, Mercury. Mercury, the planet of impotency.